lap then, it's Simon Walker-Hansel in the white number 4 car, closest to the pit wall. Number 16, Ashley Hickling in that black car with the green and turquoise shapes on it. I'm not sure what shapes they are really, but they're on it anyway. They're coming up to the red lights. Do they go out? Yes, they do, and the race gets underway, and it's a good start there by, I think, Julian Griffiths in the number 7 car. He tried to make a way through on the inside, but I don't think he could make that work. Oh, and a spin! There's 2 of them spinning already. Simon Walker-Hansel is one of them. The other is the number 12 car of Andrew Fido as well. So early drama there, Johnny, with the pole position driver Simon Walker-Hansel spinning out at the first corner.
Absolute chaos, wasn't it? I was peering out of our window from the commentary box itself, which has a good look at Abbey, and whether that was just coolish tyres, but it looked like 2 cars spinning in synchronicity, so it meant that those cars behind could then not avoid, and a very different looking top section of order. However, Ian,
and Simon Walker-Hansel's car is still stationary at Abbey. The marshals are rushing to try to assist and get that car moved. The driver's still in the car. There's double waved yellows at that part of the circuit. Meanwhile, the leader is Joe Stables, and he is already heading into Club Corner for the first time to complete the first lap of this 20-minute race for the RLM Racing Bikesports Championship. There we can see the number 11 car. That is Philip Brown, who finished yesterday's race in 10th position. They come through at the end of lap 1 then, and it's Joe Stables that leads the way. From in second place, Ashley Hickling. Third, Leon Morel. 4 is Philip Brown. 5th is Ross Drew, and Mark Grazer, number 30, is 6th. So a very unfamiliar look to the order compared to yesterday's race.
Very much so. The double waved yellows are still being displayed at the very end of Hamilton Straight and heading into Abbey turn number 1, but thankfully the leaders have got safely through. Ashley Hickling starting to eat away at a 1.4 second lead to the race leader Joe Stables. Then Leon Morel, who had a good dice yesterday but for a lower position than his current 3rd, so he'll be loving this as well. Cars running out wide onto the Hanger Straight in the background.
Meanwhile, Simon Walker-Hansel's car is being pushed away by the marshals, so he is out of the race. We've got, I think, a safety car being brought into play as well. Yes, the safety car boards are out now. There you can see the safety car symbol flashing toward the drivers, and Joe Stables has already spotted that and he's slowed down. I don't think this is going to be a very long safety car period, to be honest with you, Johnny, because already the marshals have done a great job of pushing the car most of the way to a position of safety.
Yeah, Fido's car is also, though, stricken a bit further around the corner, so there are 2 cars off at Abbey, but, well, same goes, to be honest, because at least there's no damage on the cars. They are able to be pushed and relatively easily, so the transmission hasn't locked, and thankfully none of the 4 corners are bent, but it's a real shame, clearly, for yesterday's dominant winner Simon Walker-Hansel to be out of the race so early this morning.
There's the safety car waiting to pick up the radicals. That's an entirely radical field in bike sports this weekend. Sometimes we have the Mattel chassis, but not today. There's Andrew Fido's car being pushed to a position of safety by the marshals. That's just going to be pushed behind the barriers here beneath us in our Abbey commentary box position. So I would think probably this will be the only lap behind the safety car, Johnny, because both of those cars now are out of harm's way. So we've got 16 3/4 minutes left of this race to go. Joe Stables, number 95, it is that leads from number 16, Ash Hickling in second place. Leon Morel, number 1, is in 3rd position. 4th is Philip Brown. 5th is the car of Ross Drew. And in 6th place, it's number 30, Mark Grayson. A slightly earlier start than expected for the RLM Racing Bikesports Championship. That's been switched around with the Club Enduro qualifying session, which we'll bring to you next on Alpha Live. Plenty more racing to come during the course of the day as well. 9 races in total, and 8 more after this. We've got 750 Formula Sport Specials, historic 750 Formula BMW Car Club, and as I say, the Tikiwa Club Enduro Championship also featuring on the bill today here at Silverstone. Safety car lights are still on. I wonder if they'll turn off soon and if it will dive down the pit lane entrance, which is just on the way down to the Vale, isn't it, Johnny?
Yes, to driver's right, and you peel off fairly early there. They're still not out, and I would have expected them to have been extinguished by now if we are about to restart. So clearly something else is awry. 2 cars have been collected in front of us then. From pole position, Simon Walker-Hansel will take no further part, and Andrew Fido as well.
There is another car that is off further round, Abby, that we had missed. It's in the gravel trap. I can see that on our CCTV pictures that we have here. There's a snatch vehicle currently attending to that, so that is pretty literally just behind our commentary position, which is why we can't see it. So try and work out who that is. There's only 15 cars that came round at the end of the first lap, and we should have had 21 that started. I don't think we've lost 6, so there must have been a few non-starters, which makes it more difficult to identify those cars that are not there. Let's just have a look down at the results of yesterday's race. So we know that Simon Walker-Hansel is out. Ash Hicklin is still in the race. Jack Leese is not there, is he? So Jack Leese, the former rally driver, he's not out.
Jack was nursing a problem towards the end of the race yesterday with smoke coming out of the rear, so I wonder whether that has not been fixable overnight.
Julian Griffiths, who certainly did take the start, he is not there, so I think it might be Julian Griffiths, and it does look like, it is the number... oh no, that's the number 5 car that's being collected. That's Doug Carter. But we know that Julian Griffiths took the start of the race. He's not come through either, so he must be off somewhere else. So that's 4 cars that we've lost on the opening lap.
Yeah, well, Julian was taking to the grass in an attempt to make ground in the early stages, and then, because he was so far left, he had no further route to go when they all started spinning in front of him.
Now you can see there's the gap between the 2 leaders, obviously behind the safety car at the moment. You can see that Ash Hicklin there with his image on screen as well, just under a second behind the leader. Obviously, we are behind safety car at the moment, so they're all pretty much equidistant and moving around from left to right on the circuit to try and get some heat into, or keep some heat in their tyres. Being on the safety car lights are still on, and actually probably are going to get one more lap at least behind the safety car because that recovery is still ongoing on the exit of Abbey.
Yeah, so there's been a drama for Julian Griffiths. Doug Carter isn't in the race either anymore. He was starting from the outside of the second row, and Doug and Julian were together on the grid. Who else was involved? Andrew Fido, as we've mentioned. He was alongside Julian Griffiths on the third row. Jack Leese, I'm not sure he was there in the first place, probably related to the issues yesterday. Simon Walker-Hansel, though, it suggests, because Simon is also involved, that Simon had his moment actually at the front of the pack, and that's caused a ricochet or a kind of ripple effect further down the grid. We are speculating a little bit because it all happened so quickly, but a real shame to have a quick car, or 2 very quick cars, out of the race so early on, because Andrew Fido was overtaking a number of cars yesterday, and also it prevents us from producing any more K9 puns on Sunday. You were on fire yesterday.
There's a 3rd race later on though, Johnny.
Excellent.
So there's still a chance that we might get some more in. Don't you worry about that.
Good news.
Yeah, so it's the 2nd of 3 races that we're seeing at the moment for the RLM Racing Bikesports Championship. And there's another one this afternoon as well. It's the first race after the lunch break that we will see these cars out. And I mean, the cars that we can see down beneath us, and actually Doug Carter's car is now being brought into this radical graveyard on the outside of Abbey as well. I don't think there's much damage to them particularly. It's just that they came to a halt and couldn't fire up again. So hopefully those cars will be fairly readily prepared for the 3rd and final race of the weekend. I suppose it is just as well that it's a triple header rather than a double header in some ways, because it means that the weekend isn't quite as much of a write-off as it otherwise might have been. So the cars heading through the link and back onto the Grand Prix circuit here. We're using the international circuit at Silverstone this weekend, based out of the Wing building, and heading through the loop and onto the Wellington Straight, head through the link and onto the Hangar Straight once they've negotiated the village hairpin, and the Hangar Straight is where they are now. Head down towards Stowe Corner, then dip. It is actually a bigger dip than you realise, down towards the Vale and through the long right-hander at Club Corner to end the lap. Safety car lights are now off, Johnny. That's good news.
And about the sort of point where we expect the lights to go out around the track as well, so that'll be worth remembering through the course of the day. We don't want a lot of safety cars, of course. Yesterday, well, they were sort of littered through the course of yesterday morning and afternoon's racing, but thankfully we managed to avoid every race being affected by caution. Two races yesterday affected by safety car towards the end, and one early on. Now, hang on a minute. We've got a car taking to the pit lane, which is Ross Drew, Ian.
Yeah, and right at the end of the safety car period, so obviously something's been nagging away at him during this yellow flag intervention, and he's decided that now is the time to head to the pit lane. So that's the 5th place driver out of the race. Also 14 survive, headed by Joe Stables, who goes now because he sees the green flag on the finish line there. The finish line is a bit before the start line on this circuit. He's made a very good restart to this race, has Joe Stables, and he has already pulled out a bit of a gap over Ashigdon and Leon Morrell. That shows Ross Drew in the lead on our timing tower now, because he effectively took the shortcut by going into the pit lane there, but it is Joe Stables that still leads.
Aaron Ellington in the bright orange Radical was having a good scrap there with Stephen Bell. That was for 9th and 10th places. Meanwhile, Ross Drew has reached the pit lane. Race leader he may well be, briefly, but as you can see, stopped, and the rear deck receiving some attention. So clearly that is to access the engine bay, and maybe some worries about transmission as the runner in 4th position, which is Leon Morrell, reaches Stowe Corner.
Oh, and there's a coming together there, or at least there very nearly was. That involves the 24 car of Ian Charles, who was 7th. Possibly that was Richard Hardy, was it, who was also involved in that. There's our 2nd place driver then. That's Ash Hickley, and Joe Stables has just gone across the line ahead of him, 2.26 seconds ahead of him, in fact. Leon Morrell it is that's in 3rd place, number 1. In 4th place is number 11, Philip Brown. In 5th place is number 30, Mark Grayson. And it's Stephen Bell in number 86 that completes the top 6. There's Joe Stables. Fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:04.64, and that compares pretty favourably to yesterday's fastest lap for Simon Walker-Hansel, which was a 1:04.51. But I think we are still some way off the lap record for these cars.
And it was a 1:04 flat in qualifying to give Simon Walker-Hansel his pole position. A little bit wide there onto the hanger straight, but a moment recovered for 4th place car Philip Brown. As meanwhile, Joe Stables reaches a yellow flag affected Stowe Corner, because still stranded on the outside of that corner is the Ian Charles machine, which kind of arrived at Stowe in a bizarre angle. Whether there had been some contact just before the cars arrived into our frame, tricky to tell, but yellow flags, single yellows halfway down hanger, and then double waved yellows in the corner itself.
That is the 86 car of Stephen Bell that we are watching. He is in 6th position at the moment, just ahead of Alistair Smart, who's actually 2nd within Class A. Joe Stables leading Class A at the moment, but 3rd in Class A, that's number 10, Aaron Ellington. It's his first meeting in Bikesports. He started racing again this year after a 9-year gap. He'd done lots of racing, mostly at Knock Hill in Scottish Sports and Saloons, racing at Caterham R500. But he's doing very well here in 8th overall and 3rd in class. There you can see the orange number 10, Radical SR3, 1500cc RLM engine, with a car that he's prepared himself and built by Radical. And he only bought the car last month, and this is his first race. There's the 24 car going out of the race, and also involved there was 66, Richard Hardy, as I speculated.
Yeah, obviously we knew Richard was involved initially. I hadn't realised Richard Hardy hadn't been able to leave the scene since then. He's now a lap down and will become 2 laps down once race leader Joe Stables heads by. So that whole area now affected by double waved yellows, with marshals clearly on track. But heading into the green flagged area now, that's not going to stop racing. 3 abreast, in fact, into Vale Corner, and Mark Grasson has been mugged there by a couple of places, because Alistair Smart in the bright yellow 73 and just ahead of him Stephen Bell both get a place each.
Yeah, we've got about 6 minutes and 40 seconds of this race left to go, so good scrap here between Stephen Bell and Alistair Smart, and that is now the scrap for 5th and 6th positions with that change there. They are heading through the right-hander at Abbey, then the left-hander at Farm, now the right-hander at the village hairpin here, and they will then head through that left-hand that brings them onto the link and back onto the hang straight. Already you can see they're getting away from Grays, and there is Ellington, the number 10 car. He's been given quite a hard time there by Joe Locke, who was a bit further up the order for much of yesterday's race. He finished at 8th place eventually, Joe Locke, former Civic racer. And there you can see him trying to take the place away from Aaron Ellington, although they are in different classes, these 2 cars. There's Ellington with his Scottish Saltire on the side of that Radical as well, being flown proudly.
Robert Gilman was under pressure in the background, I noticed as well, from Andrew Gord, so they're battling over 10th and 11th, side by side into the Vale again, and up the inside Joe Locke on Ellington to give him the place. That's 8th. And ahead of him, Mark Grayson, needing to be wary because, of course, Grayson already unable to prevent these two cars from getting through. As Smart will make a move on Stephen Bell into Abbey Corner and get another spot. So Alistair Smart now up to 5th.
He is, but Bell's trying to fight back here, I think. But no, he's not going to make that work. So Smart, who finished yesterday's race in 5th position, so he's now climbed back into P5. But remember, some of the contenders that finished ahead of him yesterday were Hansel, Lees and Griffiths, in fact. So 3 of them haven't made it to the end, or indeed in one case the start of this race. So I think Smart would be hoping to improve. He has, though, got 7 seconds or so to make up on Philip Brown. So I don't think that's going to happen in the remaining 5 minutes of this race.
Joe Locke's got a good run on Mark Grayson into or down the hanger straight and now into Stoke. Can he get up the inside? No, because Grayson has covered that line. Novice cross being run on the rear of Aaron Ellington's machine. It is still nose to tail. Joe Locke feinting to the outside of Vale Corner. That'd be a great overtake if he can pull it off, and he does. So to the outside of Vale Corner itself, and that will give him 7th position.
The gap between the 2 leaders, meanwhile, Johnny, has come right down to 3/4 of a second. 2 slow laps for Joe Stables. And here they are, they're together now. It's not 0.73 seconds now. It was a 1:08 for Stables, then a 1:06, and that's allowed Ash Hicklin in the number 16 car to close right up on him. This is for the overall lead. They are in different classes, and points within Bikesports are scored within the class. So at this stage, both Stables and Hicklin will be picking up maximum points. Again, they're through this yellow flag zone at Stowe. So the race has been blighted by safety cars and yellow flags, I'm afraid. Hicklin looks to have perhaps backed off a little bit more than Joe Stables did there through that part of the circuit, and has fallen quite a long way back, but I guess he's showing that he is respecting the yellow flags there, and he will come through to complete the 11th lap of this race now, and the gap between them will have gone out, I think, yes, to 1.52 seconds now. Stables only a few hundredths, actually, off his best lap of the race so far, a few tenths, I should say, of his best lap of the race so far.
So that suggests a slight mistake from Joe Stables at the head of the order to allow Ashley Hicklin back into contention of the race lead. Hicklin's best time a 1:05.3, but Stables is almost a full second quicker than that. So as long as Joe can keep it neat and tidy to the end of the race now, then he should be fine. However, we have had one mistake already, so there's nothing to suggest that that's not going to creep in again in the closing stages. 3rd position still in the hands of Leon Morel. No one really to race with right now down the hanger straight.
And just to say about Leon Morel, he's 2nd within his class at the moment in that Valor Racing prepared Radical SR3. If he stays that, he will be our new championship leader after this round, with Simon Walker-Hansel having failed to finish this race. There, though, is our race leader. That's Joe Stables. He had that scare a couple of laps ago where the gap had come right down to 3/4 of a second. He's gone out massively now to Ash Hicklin, because he's just done a 1:02.92 as Joe Stables. That's far, far faster than we saw yesterday, and in terms of the lap record for these cars, it's not going to be far off a lap record either, I don't think. 1:02.51 the lap record for Martin Brooks, so he's only 4 tenths outside the lap record now, as we're watching Aaron Ellington and Mark Grayson. Ellington now ahead of Grayson there, so that's going to change around as well.
For 8th position, so Joe Locke got through past Grayson. Ellington has just done the same as they reach the very rapid right-hand kink at Abbey Corner, and they turn left through Farm, shaping up for another overtake to reverse, though the positioning is Grayson, and he goes to the inside and makes it. So really good fighting this in the lower order of the top 10, 8th and 9th positions, with the 30 car of Mark Grayson back up to 8th.
Mark Grayson then ahead. He's a Huddersfield Town supporter. And he's been racing in Bikesports for the past 6 seasons now. He's got a 2014 Radical SR3 RS, and it's prepared by Valor Racing. And look at that, Joe Stables has done another new fastest lap. It's a 1:02.66, so we're now within 1500ths of the lap record, which was set by Martin Brooks 2 years ago.
In the single-seater, if you like, Radical PR6 versus the 2-seater Radical of Ashley Hicklin in the background, but Hicklin just watching the narrower car disappear in front of him compared to his SR3 side by side again. Well, there was certainly nose to tail coming out of Club Corner, and having a long look up the inside was Aaron Ellington as they approached Abbey Corner on Mark Grayson, but no way through there. You'd need to be much more alongside to be fully committed into turn 1.
So they are down at Village for the 14th time in this race. May be on the last lap. We'll have to see if we get the checkered flag for Joe Stables this time. It's only 30 seconds or less than 30 seconds on the clock now. Oh, he's just got on actually to his final lap. I think he's done a 1:02.62, so he's found another 400. So this will be the final lap of the race for him. It's the penultimate lap of the race for Grayson and Ellington, who are disputing 8th and 9th position. There's Alistair Smart in 5th place, the number 73 car. He is just about a couple of seconds ahead there of Stephen Bell, number 86, in 6th place. Smart has made about a second on Philip Brown since he moved up to 5th position, but isn't going to catch Brown, I don't think, as we're watching there Joe Locke, who now is rather lonely in 7th place.
Yeah, had a busier race earlier on, having to come through from 9th position, now up to 7th, so a few cars to overtake along the way. Down the Vale now, race leader arriving into Vale Corner itself and struggling to get the car turned in. There's a bit of movement from the rear as well. He's having fun out there, isn't he? Here comes Joe Stables.
And up to the line and to take the checkered flag to win the second race of the weekend for the RLM Racing Bikesports Championship. Joe has not been a regular feature of the championship this year. He appeared in the first meeting at Donington. I don't think we've seen him since, but he's always very quick. He's been champion on more than one occasion in the past as Joe Stables, so he's proved his worth today with a victory in the end by more than 10 seconds over Ashley Hicklin. Number 1, Leon Morel, he takes 3rd place, and with that he'll go into the championship lead after this particular race. 4th goes to number 11, Philip Brown, so 6 places higher than he was yesterday. 5th to number 73, Alistair Smart. 6th to number 86, Stephen Bell. But there is a very happy Joe Stables acknowledging the marshals on the slowing down lap, which is always great to see. And he will go into the final race of the day this afternoon. Final race of the weekend this afternoon. Buoyed with confidence there. And of course, I think the grid for that's going to be set by well, it's either the results or the fastest lap from this race, I think. And whichever of those it is, it's not good news for Simon Walker-Hansel, is it? Because he's going to have to start from towards the back of the grid either way. So that will be an interesting one to see how far up the order he can get. Andrew Fido and so forth will be back on the back as well. Here's the result then after 15 laps of racing. Joe Stables, it was number 95, that took the victory in the Radical PR6 by 10.29 seconds in the end from number 16, Ashley Hicklin. 3rd was number 1, Leon Morel. 4th, number 11, Philip Brown. 5th was 73, Alistair Smart. I should say, by the way, that both Stables and Hicklin won their respective classes. 6th to number 86, Stephen Bell. 7th to number 8, Joe Locke. 8th was number 30, Mark Grayson. 9th was number 10, Aaron Ellington. And 10th was number 60, Andrew Gord. And a bit further back, just these cars made it beyond the first lap. So 11th was number 9, Robert Gilman. 12th was number 46, Chris Child. And 13th was 66, Richard Hardy. Although actually Hardy, Drew and Charles there didn't make it to the checkered flag. So just 12 finishers in the end from that RLM Racing Bikesports Championship race. As we have mentioned, we have another of these races coming up later on this afternoon. Coming up next, we're going to have the qualifying session for the Tagiwa Club Enduro Championship. That is going to be a 30-minute long session. We're going to bring that to you here on Alpha Live and on the circuit commentary as well. That will be underway shortly, but we'll have time to have some interviews before the qualifying session gets underway, and indeed we can eat into the qualifying session as well with these interviews as necessary. Chris Stevens it is that's on duty for us in the pit lane this weekend, and like in fact we have Johnny Palmer who was commentating on the BTCC on ITV the other weekend. Chris just a couple of weeks before that he was commentating at the circuit on Formula E at the London Excel Centre. So we've got a star-studded commentary team and me.
I was going to say, what have you done, Ian?
Not a lot.
You've done a lot of these meetings, in fairness.
Certainly have.
Yes.
Yes, but we'll hear from Chris in a moment down in the pit lane with our top 3. There's the view of the Silverstone wing, and you can see that new pedestrian footbridge that links the hotel, which is just out of shot on the left-hand side of picture, and the wing which dominates the picture. That's a new feature since I last worked at this particular end of Silverstone circuit, and it looks very splendid indeed. So I think we are almost ready to head down to Chris Stevens. Just be a moment or two, I think, before he is ready. So let's head down now for the first time today to hear from Chris Stevens with our successful drivers in bike sports.
Well, our first race winner of the day is Joe Stables, a mammoth 10-second margin, but there was a bit of a close moment between you and Ashley at one point.
Was it? I mean, I was just saving my tyres so I could go faster the next lap after the safety car went.
So totally in control then?
Yeah, just a bit of fun.
All right, well, it was a great victory and obviously a bit cool this morning. I mean, are you expecting things to change if it gets a bit hotter later?
Not really. I'd hope for it to rain, really.
You prepared for the wet?
Yeah, just see what happens. Throw it at me.
All right, well, absolutely fantastic victory. Congratulations to you. We'll see you out in the car later, yes?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, awesome. Well, let's go and talk to our second place driver, Ashley Hicklin, car number 16. Hey, congratulations on second place. It looked like you were nibbling at the back of Joe's car there for a little bit, but it just wasn't to be.
Yeah, I definitely had to go. I don't know whether I caught him napping or he was having a bit of a chill, but he soon came back and then disappeared off into the sunset a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, he said he was saving his tyres. I mean, could you see that from inside the car?
Yeah, I think so. Especially through the fast stuff, I could see it was moving around a little bit, and that's where obviously the SR3s kind of revel. They like going fast through the quick stuff. So yeah, I was reeling him in through there, but yeah, and then he just took off.
Of course, the class victory for you as well. Great news for your championship, especially with Simon Walker-Hansel not scoring today.
Yeah, absolutely. First ever class win as well in Bikesports. So after 4 years, so yeah, I've had plenty of seconds and thirds, but yeah, first ever win in Bikesports. So I'm absolutely over the moon with it.
Oh, congratulations to you. That's a fantastic result. Let's go and talk to our third place driver, Leon Morel. Leon? Hey. So our new championship leader in Bikesports was Simon Walker-Hansel not scoring today, so a good result today.
Yeah, happy with the result. To be fair, we've struggled for pace this weekend a little bit. I think we've been a bit of a second off. We made some changes for that race, and my mechanic Tom has found me a bit of pace. So yeah, chuffed for the Valor boys for all their efforts and great racing throughout the field. Thoroughly deserved win by Ash. He drove faultless and he didn't put a foot wrong. So yeah, good race.
Oh, another race to come this afternoon. Do you reckon you can take the fight for the class win to Ashley?
No. No, I don't want to say yes because I don't think I can. I'm going to try. I'm always going to try. It'll be pinned no matter what. But unfortunately, the RSs are, the older stock cars are just a bit more slippery and they're just pulling away on the straights. So we're sort of running a bit more downforce than everyone else with the body style of the car. But Simon and Ash have just been faster all weekend. I'm hoping for mixed conditions. So let's get some rain. That spices things up, doesn't it? So yeah.
All right, well, we look forward to seeing you give it a go this afternoon. There'll be another Bikesports race this afternoon, but coming up next is the Club Enduro qualifying. Let's go back up to you, Ian.